Um, this is just a recap on not only you, Kainoa, but also your training and prep for this year's races, specifically M20. Know you. This is kind of your first year of downwinding, but let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk about how you approached me, and I'll talk a little bit about 270 and why and how I started that, and kind of how it grew organically to where we're at now.
Yeah, sick. I think I saw 270 on Instagram probably first. Um, yeah, and I think I just started following you and um, kind of seeing what you're doing and just like yeah, kind of like just following you and
Just kind
yeah, nothing crazy. And then I seen Dane um get aboard, and that was the first person I think from Hawaii that I saw with one of your boards. I don't know, was there guys before Dane?
I think Dane was definitely one of the first ones. Dane McBride in Kauai. I went out there for a vacation and I met him in Honolulu Bay. There was a west wind, which was, I think, a little rare for that area for winging. And we met each other in the parking lot, and I was showing him some of my boards, and we just started talking and traded Instagram handles and kept in touch. And he pulled the trigger, and we started making him boards. And yeah, so he was one of the first ones for sure over there in the islands.
Sick.
Um, and then it's a small town. Obviously, it spreads pretty quick from island to island. You know, some of you guys travel quite a bit, um, and it's a small world in the foil world. So when quality's there, typically the word will pass pretty fast. So
Yeah. Yeah, and
um,
and that's exactly what happened, like I seen Dane post a couple of clips and then I hit Dane up. I think I was like, this was right around the time I was just starting I think I needed a board. I was looking for a board. I wanted a brand new one, a prone board. And yeah, I was just kind of shopping around. I seen Dane get a board from you and that was cool because I didn't know Dane super well and so I just messaged him and he was pretty honest. He was like, "Hey, this board's super sick. It's everything that I wanted." And yeah, Grant's a good guy. You know, and yeah, he delivered me a board that we designed together, and um, the price wasn't outrageous, which is another huge thing. So that was cool, and that's kind of like what led me to then message you and kind of see what the process would be like and yeah, I was also super attracted to the fact that we could make a custom board.
yeah,
um so yeah.
yeah, and that was kind of how 270 started. I was riding a lot of equipment from different brands and shapers, and just wasn't happy with anything out there. And I started messing around with Shape 3D by myself and with some of our local shapers here. I started building some boards, and definitely we had some growing pains. I went through a laminator or two, and we figured out some things, and some of the quality I wasn't happy with, and I quickly caught on and found who I'm with now, Corey Richmond, and up in Morro Bay, and he's seriously one of the best laminators I've ever worked with. And his name, I've mentioned it before in a lot of posts, but his name carries a lot of weight in the lamination business, of building boards. So far, I mean, we've built a lot of boards this year, and everybody's been really happy with the results and the strength and just the result in their hands when it comes to riding these boards. So um, and then yeah, I mean, we reached out and we talked a bunch. We designed a board, and just like Dane, we got you a custom board, and that's kind of been my mission is to keep everything custom and direct to the customer and a one-on-one experience rather than just giving pop outs, which typically there's some good pop outs out there for sure. You got really good brands. Um, but again, my specialty right now is just making everything custom for that rider. So with that in mind, let's talk about you, Kainoa. Why don't you kind of tell me about yourself, a little bit about your background with just water sports, being a waterman yourself, obviously, and kind of what got you into foiling, and specifically kind of went down this rabbit hole with downwinding that we're all falling in love with or
Yeah.
hating.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, dude. I didn't grow up like super involved with the water, you know. I grew up mostly playing land sports. The football, basketball, baseball, whatever. And it wasn't really until maybe middle school that I think I started paddling. Yeah, like around seventh grade. Canoe paddling, outrigger paddling, you know, in a six man. Um, and that was kind of like the gateway for me getting into water sports because my coach was, you know, a lifeguard and um, um, he obviously wasn't a waterman, you know, so I got to meet through paddling all these different watermen, and so seeing and meeting all these people, really it was like, man, it's these guys are so cool, you know. Like I want to surf, I want to fish and stuff, you know. Um, but I was still playing land sports at the time, and so kind of ninth or tenth grade, I I quit all the land sports except track and field, and I played water polo and I did paddling and I took up surfing, um, and yeah, I fell in love with the ocean, you know, and then yeah, surfing, being in the water, involved with the water all the way through, you know, high school, all the way up until now. And that was kind of why I got into lifeguarding was because everyone I knew that was a lifeguard just loved it. You know, they're like, "Hey, kind of, you'd be a good fit. You clearly love the ocean." You know, and before I became a lifeguard, I didn't. There's so many things. Like to me, I thought a lifeguard was like someone that just sits in the tower and then surfs on their break. You know, and now that I'm a lifeguard now and have been trained, um, you know, it's been super eye opening to get to see, you know, a lot of my coworkers and senior lifeguards, um, how how much their experience through this job gives them these like superhuman like abilities to read the ocean conditions, and really like thrive out there so that when, you know, an emergency situation arises, you don't even have to question where to go, what you're looking at, what equipment you're going to use, you know. I mean, these guys, yeah, I'm super lucky and blessed to work with who I work with, because they teach me so much just by watching them, you know. So,
Yeah. No, that's insane. I mean, you grew up in Oahu, right? Where you're at right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
And to me, I mean, I grew up around learning to swim before I could walk, surfing at a young age, and started just building my sports and lifeguarding at an early age, and eventually ocean lifeguarding at some point.
nice,
And to me, it's like that's crazy growing up on the islands and kind of stuck doing land sports and not getting involved in water sports till like kind of a late bloomer, right? A little bit older.
sure,
Um, So that's pretty unique that you kind of adapted pretty quick, and now your whole world's like just wrapped around the ocean and everything it has to give. And that's your daily day-to-day job, right? I mean, you're out there
Day-to-day
just
job, yeah, yeah. I
public servant out
lifeguard
there.
on the North Shore. It's the summertime right now, so it is kind of flat. It's super good for downwind foiling, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even though it's flat, I mean, it's the beaches are still busy, you know. Like people
Yeah,
come from around the world and they see these, spots on Instagram that are cave diving, cliff jumping, um, yeah, whatever beach activities, and a lot of these people, they don't think, and they think like, oh, the ocean's flat, there's nothing to worry about, and so we do still get a lot of incidents, even though, in the summertime. For those of you that don't know, on the North Shore, we don't have north swells. We do not have huge waves. Primarily, we do have freak swells. It's nature, but primarily in the summertime it's flat, and then in the wintertime we get really big north swells. 5, 6, all the way up until as big as waves get. They hold the Eddie Aikau. So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yep.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, obviously, we thank you for your service and stuff. And that's kind of
Likewise.
building these boards. I mean, this is, I wouldn't say a side hustle, but it's definitely not my primary career. And my primary career is public safety too. So I think we see eye to eye in a lot of those things, and helping the public, and um, gotta love this world of water sports and everything it has to offer, especially foiling.
Right.
So um,
I want to say too that because like we see eye to eye, like you mentioned that this isn't your full-time thing. Like I appreciate that, and that was one of the things that like kept encouraging me to work with you, is because you get it, you're like, I'm just a lifeguard, and I don't have all this money and time to freaking, just train full time. Like you're realistic, and you're willing to, work with just a freaking average guy like me, which I
yeah,
think is rad, dude. So thank you.
no, no, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I think doing this is the pressure's off with this building boards to some extent, because it isn't my primary job, and I do it for the love of the sport and the love of, like, it's such a cool feeling, like designing something, having it come to life, and seeing you guys ride, these boards that we did together in the most crazy conditions. And that's what keeps it pushing. And I mean, the brands is growing organically.
Yeah.
Um, like every brand, there's ups and downs, and we're definitely finally on like a steady incline, and the shapes are epic. I mean, everything's working good, and I try to keep the prices for everybody like very, very competitive but reasonable, and I'm willing to work with everybody. I want everybody to ride a good board that they're stoked on, and it's custom for them, and they're just a happy person, when they're
Mhm.
out there. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
dude. Thanks, and it shows, like you said.
yeah, absolutely, man. So let's get down to the meat and potatoes, man. Let's talk about
Yeah.
we talked about yourself, Kainoa. Let's talk about kind of your prep, your training for downwinding, and what kind of got you going. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you really started this last season, right? I mean, you've really had less than a year of training.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like I think right around now,
yeah,
I think last year I was learning
yeah.
to downwind. So
Just starting your paddle ups, just playing
yeah,
around on. So let's go through that training phase and kind of how you built up to making that decision to do M20.
yeah, yeah. As soon as I learned how to prone foil, I was trying to do the Kaiko's run, which is our local downwind. It's like, I wouldn't call it beginner. I would call it maybe beginner friendly because all the way up to advanced riders, it's still super fun, you know? What's nice about the run is that it's kind of close to shore compared to other runs. And so you have all these different surf breaks along the way so that if you fall, ideally you can kind of get back up and going, you know? So as soon as I started doing that, um, naturally at the time, like foiling was just kind of moving into the SUP, the downwind, because now you could get up again. You know, if you fell in the open ocean, you can get back up and going, which was like, poof, you know, like that was so sick.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so then I was working in Waikiki at the time, and Simeon, shout out Simeon, let me borrow one of his old boards to learn on. Um, and yeah, it was a struggle fest, you know, like for me it took me probably a month of going like every day just to be able to stand up and like paddle, like just traverse, not even, and this is like in flat water, you know, this
Yeah.
is like no wind, no bumps, no, I was running away from waves because I wanted it to be flat, you know, so yeah, that was like super humbling because I was like, okay, I got the prone foil down. How hard can this sup be? And then I was like, oh my God, dude, fully
Yeah.
humbled, you know, I was like relearning again and so frustrating and I kind of love that, to be honest. I love like the humbleness and just, you know, like hey, fucking you got to try again, you know, you got to try again, you got to keep going. So I
Yep.
kept going and eventually was able to pop up on foil, do some downwind runs. Um but yeah, I mean the main thing I think with learning is that you don't give up. You got to be persistent, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Especially with the downwind. I mean, I think everyone that downwind foils or has tried or attempted or even is successful can relate to just the frustration and the learning curve. It is,
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
especially for me. I mean, I'm an older
Yeah.
guy. I'm tall. I don't weigh 180 pounds like the average rider.
Sure.
And dude, if you go on my Instagram, you can see just my struggle fest in Hood River last year, and this season finally started to figure out. I would still say I'm novice, but I mean I'm getting better. But I try to sup every chance I get, and that's like the last. It's the last discipline that I'm still trying to master. That
Yeah.
once I do it, that my it'll be the next thing. You know that
Right.
everything else seems so easy. Paddling seems so easy to downwind paddling, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna give in to just paddling until I master the downwinding and the
Yeah.
paddling.
Yeah.
And that's just my pride. So um, we can all relate how difficult it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's like you got to pay your entry fee. You know,
Yep.
that's your entry fee to this sport is you
Yep.
got to freaking get out there. You're going to be embarrassed, you know? You're going to be pissed off.
Yep.
And I hope this doesn't turn away too many people, but it keeps going, you know? Like you're
Oh yeah.
never going to be like, "Oh, I'm never going to fall ever." Because as soon as you think that, boom, shocker, you know?
Yep.
So, it's cool. It's a cool journey.
Yeah. And even if you do think you're comfortable, you're still gonna have those shocker races or shocker sessions, right?
Yes, yep.
Um,
Yep.
some days you nail it, you ace it. Other days you're just falling right and left. You can't even get up because you're so tired.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, so kind of continuing on that round, let's talk about some of your challenges you already went through, but any other challenges and then what kind of got you thinking with board design and what were you looking for?
Yeah. With board design, I think like you're pretty cool because you pretty much let me have full creative control, you know, and you're like, yeah, draw it up. Freaking make whatever you want. Send me pictures. Send me this. Send me that. You know. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And at first I was a little intimidated because I was like, dude, what if I make this board and it just sucks? You know, like, and so yeah, there's that kind of fear in the back of my mind. I think that a lot of people have designing a custom board, especially this being my first board. I'm pretty new to the SUP foiling.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of like, oh man, I don't know. And then too, like right now, this whole past year, there's been so many like design evolutions and ideas and content coming out of like, oh, look at what this guy does with his nose and his deck and all this other stuff, you know? So
right.
um, I think like when we were designing that, right? I would definitely, I don't know about you, but I definitely was looking all at that and was like, dude, so what do we do? You know, like what
Right.
can we take from this and piece it together into this? And I think we finally, or I finally was like, hey, you know what? Let's just settle on one design. Like, let's go with this. Let's send it. And this was when was that? Like beginning of this year, yeah, like February, March, maybe even.
Yeah, I think we had a design in December, January, but we kind of finalized it around then. And
Yeah.
I think, like you said, I mean, there's a lot of designs out there. Um, I don't think there's any one board as a designer shaper that is right for every condition. Um, for example, I think Frank designs his boards primarily around his conditions in Maui. We chatted a little bit at the Foil Fever event in Kauai in November, and you have Glenn Pang and you have the Lift guys and all these companies developing their designs and their boards for their conditions, whether it's a downwind board or a prone board. And even here in California, we have our runs up in Avila, and other runs that are opening up as the foils get better. But I think for the most part, I think we're pretty close in the board design in every discipline within foiling.
Mm-hmm.
As new disciplines come out, like parawinging, like this board behind me, that's kind of a crossover between a parawing and a wingboard. It's, we can adjust and modify according to the needs of that foil discipline. But I think we nailed the design pretty good, um, especially. I was described by a gentleman in Puerto Rico. He basically hit the nail in the coffin. He's like, you're going to sacrifice some stability, but you want that board to cut through like a hot knife through butter, through the water, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal. Have that right rocker profile, nice and narrow, the length appropriate for the conditions, and ultimately it's going to work pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we came up with that design, and similar with Dane. Dane did a very similar design. We changed a few things according to his riding style, because
Mm-hmm.
again, that's what custom's about, right? We're
For sure.
building a board to your design, your
For
style.
sure.
So,
Mm-hmm.
when you got that board, you have another one that you just got as well. We made a demo, but it's kind of
Sure.
I think it's we're realizing that maybe that's a good second board in your quiver as well.
Yeah.
But how did that go with training with that board and leading up to M20, and what was that turning point when you decided that you're going to do M20 and actually send it? That's a long race. I mean, it's 40 miles, right?
For sure. Yeah. It was always a goal of mine. Like I think since I started foiling, you know, because I love it. I love the endurance. I
Yeah.
love the challenge. You know, it's a pretty insane challenge. And then also like doing it in a canoe. It's just it's just so cool. You know, and
Yeah.
honestly, as like a Hawaiian, it feels like I'm meant to do it. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there was no doubt of like if, but when. And then when I was able to consistently um, complete like Hawaii Kai runs um, on the SUP, I was like, okay, yeah, I think if I train enough, then I'll be able to do it, you know? And then I got transferred up to the North Shore from Waikiki for work, and I didn't foil all winter until I got the SUP that we designed, and that was about, I think, March or April, and
Yeah.
um, and I just remember like texting you, I think like every day, like, dude, where's the board? You know, like, hey, is the board on the way? Like, what's the status with the board? Because the winds just started nuking, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go. Like, I'm gonna do M20. I need this board. I think I already signed up. I think I signed up in like April or something. So it's like I signed up, and I think I like just got the board, or I was waiting for the board. Um, and it was totally my fault because the design, like I kept second guessing the design. I kept pushing it on, you know. So once we settled on the board, came in good time, and I just remember frothing and taking it out every single day. Like I didn't even let the grip pad sit overnight. I slapped it on. I waited 4 hours ish, and then boom, I went paddled it around flat water. Took it to town, did a downwind. Like I was just frothing. Um, and
Yeah.
for me, because I don't have any SUP background, for me, time on the board was huge. And that's like paddling, not even going on foil and just paddling the board, paddling in flat water, paddling it in windy water, um, and then going on foil, foiling it in the surf, feeling, how my feet placement feels traversing versus standing up in the bumps versus on foil, was huge. And so I felt like from April to July when the Molokai race was, um, I just had to hammer. I've kind of felt, honestly, I kind of felt behind, but I was like, okay, well, I just gotta, you know, I'm only gonna get closer to the date, so I just gotta keep hammering.
Yeah.
So,
What were what were some of your struggles on the way? Did you kind of doubt yourself in any of their training?
oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. There were moments, kind of like how we talked earlier, where I'd have a session and I'd be able to pop up like no problem. And then I would go to do a more difficult run, like a Turtle Bay run, maybe to Mokuleia, which is the one that we do out here on the North Shore, and that's 20 miles. And it would take me 10 minutes to pop up, and I'm just like fuming because I'm like, dude, I just popped up yesterday, no problem, right away, and so I don't know, it was a good mental test for me because throughout the whole training, it kind of seemed like that. Like it kind of seemed like I'd have really good days and really bad days, and it's not like I'm changing very much of my equipment. A lot of times it would be on the same wing, and I don't know. It was just sometimes the ocean would take care of me and just give me a good bump, and then other times it was like, hey man, guess what? You're not in control. I'm in control. Like you gotta just kind of like submit in a way, and I think that was the best training mentally for the channel because there was a lot of those mental battles that I had during the
Yeah.
race that, yeah, I felt prepared. I felt like I was able to push through, you know?
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And you we were talking about Dane earlier. He had been, he's been training for a long time as well, and he does a lot of the Nepali coast runs
Yep.
with his brother, and he decided to do um, M2M at the last minute. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, I think a week before, and we had a board for him. I think 2 days. It was sent out, and he popped up once, and he's like, "I'm ready to go," and he did that run. But then you told me that you also did that run as like a training, kind of
Yeah.
off, like, not in the limelight of everybody. You were kind of
Yep.
respectful and off the course a tad, but you still did that run 2 days prior just to kind of feel it out and get warmed up. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I think sorry. The M2M, the Pailolo channel was so good. It was like the day was I don't know how good it gets, but I mean for me that was pretty insane, you know, and that one I think was like 26 miles or something, like close to 30. Um and that was kind of just a last minute send. We were on Molokai, and my escort captain was like, "Hey, you guys want to go?" I had another foiler with me, my friend Mo, and he was like, "Hey, if you guys want to do the channel, you know, I'll drive us up." So I was like, "Okay, well, cool," you know. And the reason I chose not to register, um, well, one was financially, you know, that was going to be another like $400 for the entry
Yeah,
fee.
yeah.
And so I was like, you know, I don't really have the money right now, um, and then also I think mentally it just felt good to not have any pressure, you know, like just go out there, have fun. I
Hmm.
rode what I rode in the M20, um, and that was just pretty much strictly for confidence. Like, okay, pop up, make sure you can pop up, you know, like, and then I would stop midway and then just pop up again, you know, just to train and just to get comfortable and feel like that much more dialed and confident going into um, the M2O, you know, which I obviously was registered for and yeah, was a couple days away. So that
Perfect.
yeah, that run was huge. That was not only was it super fun, but it was just like a really sick confidence boost, confidence in myself, in my mind, in my body, and then of course in the gear. You know, it was like yeah, the board felt great.
Awesome. And then as far as your route goes, did you guys start before or after the official race, or in a different spot, or how did you kind of trail it with the
Yeah,
competitors?
yeah. So we just drove up before the race started, and we kind of um oh, I need to get something. So before, I think like 5 days or the week of M2O, the conditions look super light, and so like wind wise, and so I was kind of stressing. Like I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be struggle fest for 40 miles. You know, it's horrible. So, and I didn't have a really big flow with me, so we went to the beach in Maui. My friend Sinjin let me borrow 860R, and so I kind of just wanted that as like basically my lifeline, you know, like um, so we went to the beach. We got that wing, and then we waited for the race to start, and then we waited probably another 15 more minutes just to, you know, we're on our own program, and so we kind of just we also didn't want to interfere with the race at all, so we let everyone go 15 minutes, pretty much everyone's gone, and then yeah, we just hopped in right about where they started. um I remember the current pulling us back. Like it was just like I was going backwards. The wind was going obviously straight to Molokai, but the current sitting in the water just pulled us straight back. So that was crazy. Um, but then yeah, we just got up, did our own thing, and made it to Molokai. We stopped outside of the finish line or past it, and again, just to not interfere with the race, you know. So
Awesome.
yeah, that was sick. It was so yeah, so
So
awesome.
so you're all warmed up. You got a day break, right?
Yeah,
And let's talk about the race. Let's talk about kind of how'd you prep the night before? Were you able to sleep? Did you get enough rest? And kind of your thoughts leading up to the actual start.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of a funny story. So my one requirement was that we eat pasta. So we got pasta, you know. Our
Yep.
My wife made pasta for all of us, and we were cruising. Um, we had a great dinner, and like we're kind of winding down. And I remember like I think it was like 9 o'clock or 9:30. A tsunami warning comes in, and I'm like, what? You know, like gnarly. Um, so the tsunami, and it says the first wave's supposed to hit at like 2:30 in the morning. So I'm like, great, dude. Like I was just about to go to sleep, you know. Now I can't sleep, you know. So luckily I have my boat captain with me, and he's shout out Mr. Nolan Kealana. He's he's very well connected, and so he was monitoring it very closely. We had a plan to get out of there, essentially launch the boat. But Yeah, luckily around I think 10:30 it got called off. So, but that was like I was like, man, I'm stressing. I couldn't go to sleep. I was like kind of bummed, and then luckily it got called off, and I went to sleep, and then yeah, we made it to the race, checked in, everything. Um, yeah, and then the start of the race happens, right? So I'm in the second wave. The way that they did it this year was I think they had seeded athletes, which was like guys that did good last year, as well as all the unescorted foilers. Um, so the first heat went, and then the second heat, which was my heat, started about 5 minutes after them. And yeah, I had a great start. It was just one of those moments where everything connected. I stood up, and the ocean just gave me a perfect bump right in front of me, and I was able to pop up. I think when I popped up, I was like, there was only like two or three guys around me, you know. So I was stoked on that, and then within like the next 2 minutes, I caught all the escort boats that were in front, and it was just like stress fest. Like I was just eating boat wakes, you know, trying to lock into the groundswell and go fast, but then I got sideswept by a boat wake, you know, and then I ended up going down. And then I was like, oh my gosh, you know, frustrated. So took a moment, took a beat, took a breath, got right back up. Luckily popped right back up, which was I was shocked, kind of, because the water was crazy. And then I'm going. I try to do the same thing. I try to freaking lock into a big bump. I go fast, boom, sideswept again. I'm like, oh my god. So I fell two times, like right off the bat, you know, and I was like, bruh, is this how it's gonna be, you know? And so I kind of just fell back on all those mental shockers that I had in the training phase, you know. I was like, hey, bro, it's all good, you know, like we've been here before.
Yeah.
Um, just take a breath and do it again, you know, it's all good. And so I took a little bit longer, I think. I took about a minute to pop up again, and then I told myself like, okay, just settle in, cruise, don't try and lock into those huge bumps just yet. Just wait. Just find your rhythm. And my escort boat found me by then already too. So they're yelling at me, hey, calm down, find the rhythm, you know. And that's kind of what I did. I tried to just calm down. I wouldn't say safety foil, but just kind of not attack as like I was, because it
Yeah.
wasn't working. Um, and so yeah, I kind of just ended up later getting into that kind of flow state moment, and then by then, kind of the everything spread out, and there was less boat wakes, and then boom, I just started jamming, and everything started feeling good, you know. Yeah.
How was the wind during the race? Because I wasn't it forecasted to be a little bit light. How did it actually turn out to be?
It ended up being pretty good, really good. Yeah. I don't know, like I was saying, that was my first time doing this on a foil, so I don't know how good this run gets, but I would imagine it, besides being like super crazy nuclear winds, I'd imagine that was a pretty good day, you know. And then all the way into Hawaii
Yeah.
Kai, when we got to China Walls, I thought it was fun. It was a decently good Hawaii Kai run. Um, and then towards the finish, like around Black Point, I just felt, well, actually reverse to China Walls. That was my goal, was to just make it to China Walls. Don't have another fall. I did end up falling for a third time. I fell 3 times total, and that was like back before Sandy's. So luckily, I was kind of still away from all that reverb by Alan Davis and Hanauma Bay.
Mhm.
And so I got back up and going, and I just jammed. And I told myself, okay, just jam, just cruise and flow until China Walls. And then entering China Walls, I was just kind of like, I just felt like, okay, we're home. Now it's time to just hit the burners and just attack.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I had a really good Hawaii Kai run
Right.
from China Walls to the finish, and then even at the finish, um, turning the corner from Lighthouse, um, I was able to catch a bunch of guys, and end up passing them for the finish. I made it all the way through, which is awesome. So yeah.
You're talking about some of the best foilers in the world, and it's coming down to just such a narrow margin of victory. It's exciting.
Yes, yes, and I wish we were a little bit closer to get the look, but we're still seeing some of the great foilers that are still in the mid-pack. It's still got a long way to go, right?
Yeah, so you're going to have, behind all the top dogs, you're going to have a lot of guys right now who they're fighting their own personal battle, because at the end of the day, it's really you versus the Kaiwi channel. And so some of the guys that are in the middle or end of the pack, they're just trying to hang in the game and make sure that they can finish this race.
That's incredible. And I know we see Oahu. We're coming up on Port Lock as well as Sandy Beach. Tell me about the transition here.
So this kind of becomes some of the more precarious waters because, like I talked about earlier, you're getting a lot of that backwash. Sometimes, like I said, waves as big as you're riding are coming straight at you. So it's very easy to fall right here, and if you do, it's very hard to get back up. So hopefully these guys are kind of staying on that more outside line to avoid as much of that backwash as they can. And then we're going to get into Mauna Lua Bay, where typically the bumps are going to be a little bit smaller than what you're seeing out here along the Kaiwi coast. And it just becomes that home stretch of, can you push through the pain? Can you push through the fatigue and cramps or whatever you're dealing with to make sure you get across that finish line?
Incredible, but no, that's what it's all about. Jesse Oliver, Chris Latronic here live in the Kaiwi channel on our way to the finish. Sending things back to you.
Jesse, yeah, we're getting an idea of pushing through the pain right here with this competitor, giving it his all. This is heart right here.
This is where you really dig deep. You got your boat yelling at you. Right now the boat is probably screaming at this competitor, go, 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 and just cheering. And he's feeling so good right now, but he's absolutely exhausted. He gets a moment to take a deep breath, and it's time to just catch up. So let's see what happened.
Yeah, we're looking at the lead up to what caused his wipeout, and it looks like he just went too far, the nosedive right there.
Yeah, he just misread a bump out there. When we looked at where he was at, that's starting where you get the reverberation all the way from Kawaihoa out there and Makapu area. It's just reverbs happening, and it's hard to pop up. You know, and it's even harder to ride. So these guys are doing their best out there. He's probably exhausted. He still has about 15 miles to go, and it's time to dig deep. And when you got your crew cheering you on, it makes it that much easier.
So how much energy does it take, I guess, maybe not a measurement, but just maybe an explanation of when you go down, you go from 20 miles an hour to 0, and then you got to get back up to speed, you got to catch a bump. And we saw him try a couple of times to get a bump and couldn't. He had to go back down to sitting. So what kind of exertion are we talking about there?
You're talking about the most challenging thing that you've ever done when it comes to a sport. I actually threw out my back 4 times learning this sport in the pop-ups. I had a bulging disc as a result of trying to figure out how to pop up.
You're making this so appealing for me.
This is part 2. We just left off basically at thought it was kind of ironic and funny how they focus on you with the camera, this whole entire media on the
Yeah.
M20. All of a sudden, Kainoa is in the water paddling and trying to get back up. So, um, I thought that was a pretty humbling moment. I think everyone kind of took a step back and was like, "Whoa, that's
Yeah.
this is legit." Like, you could see. I'm not going to say the frustration, but you could definitely see like I don't even know what the word is, but you could tell that you're pissed off, you were frustrated, but you were like, it's game on, let's go, and you got right back up and you were into it and you finished the race.
Yeah.
Um, even practicing downwinding, where I am and going through the constant falling and getting up, and finally you get up and you have a good run, and then you do something stupid and you fall and you can't get back up for whatever reason. It's just a gut-wrenching feeling, and it's frustrating. So I can only imagine during a 40-mile race, what's kind of going through your mind. But ultimately, you finish the race, like you said, you finish strong. What were some of the, what'd you take from it when you finish? Obviously, a sense of relief, but what were some of your thoughts? Did you hit a breaking point during the race? I've done plenty of paddles, 30-mile paddles from Catalina to Huntington, 30 plus. And I always feel like at that breaking point is kind of at that marathon mark, right?
Yeah.
Your body shuts down. You kind of going through, you almost let all your emotions out.
Yeah.
And we talked about it with some of the organizations I'm with Operation Open Water. And we help vets, we help all marine safety and public servants, fire, police, you name it. And we put people through this to have them kind of not only have a gut check, but a mental reset. Um, did you ever have this mental reset during the race where you just not maybe shut down, but it was kind of like a lot of emotions came out?
For sure. Yeah. I think that was it had a lot to do with that fall. That fall was my last fall, my third fall. And man, it had to be, 20 plus miles in, and I remember my front foot was like numb. Um, my back leg was burning, you know. And when I fell, dude, it was just like crushing. You know, like I felt like I was doing really good. I was jamming, and that third fall, dude, I was already tired, you know? And so, dude, when I ate it, I was like, fuck, like, bruh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get back up, you know? Like, just because it takes that much out of you, you know? I'm not a very efficient paddler. I'm not a very, I don't have that SUP background, like I said. And so for me, the pop-ups, I mean, all through training was my kryptonite for sure, you know? And so that final fall was like, oh my gosh, dude, my race might be done. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to get back up, you know? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that was that breaking point that you're saying where it's like, am I gonna just give up, you know? Like, no way. Um, and I really just exactly how you said it looked like I was pissed, but I reverted back to all those shockers throughout my training mentally, and I was like, it's all good. We've been here before. I know what to do.
yeah.
I gotta stay calm, take that fall, throw it out the window, and then I focused on the positives. Like, okay, my front foot was numb. Now I can kind of take a break, like quickly though. I can kind of take a break. My foot's gonna be feel better when I stand.
Anyways, we had some technical difficulties. We're trying to figure out this program a bit, and long story short, Kainoa had a phenomenal race, a great finish, and he overcame quite a bit of adversity, especially being this is his first year getting in downwinding and really pushing himself in the training to do this world class race. So super proud of him and absolutely psyched that he's riding the 270 boards and supporting us and trying to support him the best that we can as a growing board company. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the interview and some of his thoughts and a little bit about Kainoa himself, absolute warrior, and couldn't be more stoked to have him riding our gear and keep pushing the limits out there. All right, guys, enjoy, and we'll get some more interviews up shortly.